Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima. I am glad that I decided that I should play through at least one full ending of a visual novel before I actually cover it on this channel, because boy do I have a lot to talk about with this one. Before I begin talking about my criticisms of this game, there will be a scene from Chapter 3 playing in the background, by the way, but there's, this whole video, this audio track here will probably be filled with spoilers. It won't be the sort of spoilers that completely ruin the story, but if I want to get out why I'm frustrated with the story, I have to talk about some of this stuff. So if you are not a fan of being spoiled in that way, you should avoid this video right now. I'll tell you this though, I don't think this is worth it for anyone outside of die-hard BlazBlue or visual novel fans, or someone who's in between. It's just a bit, well, if you're willing to listen to the next few minutes of my commentary, you'll know. Before I get into the really spoilery stuff though, the character art and the presentation of the game is alright. It seems to be a good port from the PS3 version. There doesn't seem to be any main issues with it. There's a lot of loading, but other than that, it seems to be alright. Voice acting's okay. The characters themselves are actually kind of dull though. I found that I didn't really enjoy any of them in particular. The only real mystery on all of them is kind of removed by the time you finish your first plotline, and most of the mystery in this game is actually gone by the time you finish your first ending, and I don't really feel like I want to continue on to the others, so I don't really think I'll be playing this to the golden ending, or I don't even know what they would call it in this game. Alright, so that's the story spoilers out, the no story spoilers out of the way, I should say. Now, we have to talk about the TOI system. The TOI system determines what ending you get in this game, and it also does stuff like contains character bios and stuff like that. You'll see it in the background video shortly. I do a little bit of a demonstration on it at some point in there. And it's kind of annoying, and here's the reason why. The TOI system does affect what ending you get, so you have to read specific articles in order to get specific endings. Wouldn't have a problem with this. However, there is a problem with it. You have to read every single article, every single toy article in order to finish the game the first time. Now, I looked up an ending guide because I kind of had to. It's kind of ridiculous what the endings expect you to do, and there is no goddamn way you are going to get half of the endings from your very first playthrough. It's just impossible. In fact, the chances of hitting the very first bad end is about, I don't know, 75%, maybe more. I can't imagine getting through successfully because of the way the toy system works. The toy system works by flashing a little icon in the top right corner of the screen, and every time it flashes, you get new articles to read. So you go in there and you read the articles. Fair enough, right? Well, it turns out you need to read every single one in order to finish the game, because the only ending that is really, like, actually gettable by that time, by your first playthrough, is the one where you read every single article. The rest of them are so specific that you can't do it until after you finish the game at least once, right? I imagine that was put in there to make it so you had to go through that specific plotline in order for the rest of the story to make sense, but it leads to a massive pain in the ass, because if you don't know this, and you go and look it up online and you're like, oh, that's what I have to do, well, guess what? You have to sit through the entire game constantly looking at the top right corner of the screen, because the sound effect that the little flash makes is so small that it's really easy to pass over if you're listening to the voice acting, and it's really easy to miss the icon flashing in the top right. So you have to be constantly looking at the top right corner of the screen, waiting for these messages to come in, and once you do, you have to press square, you have to read all of them. You will have to do this 9 times throughout the first 5 chapters of the game, and if you don't do that, you will get screwed into a bad ending. There is no choice, and you will have to do this, because if you don't, you can't finish the game the first time, and you can't unlock the rest of the endings, or at the very least, you can't know exactly what you need to do to get the rest of the endings. It's so annoying, and it gets even worse. This might be just my situation, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, because I found this to be really, really, really frustrating. So the way the game teaches you to do this, to play the game, is to read every single toy article, right? Because reading every single toy article, as I said before, is the way to get the first ending, and therefore move on to the rest of the endings. So what you do is you go through and you read all the toy articles that you see, because I did miss some on my first time through, which means I was stuck in the bad ending immediately. No choice in the matter. I was just stuck in it. I didn't have, again, I couldn't do anything about it. Now, I was going through and I eventually get to this one scene which actually looks like a choice scene in hindsight, but then you go and look it up and realize it's not actually a choice scene. Basically, it's a scene that takes place in a pool, and you have a bunch of articles that show off different parts of the female characters, which is a bit odd. I thought that was a bit odd. However, the way the game phrases this choice, like, let me put it this way. I picked every single one because I thought, oh, it's a good thing to do this, and I should probably just pick every one because that's probably what I'm supposed to do. So I did, and I moved on, and Chapter 6 came up really early, and it turned out to be the bad ending. And the guy said, the guy who kills you off says, those who choose nothing get nothing. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that means I must have had to pick only one of those toy articles. This was before I looked up the ending guide, so I went back to the very beginning of the game because, I'll explain that in a minute, was fast forwarded through all of it, and picked one of them, and I immediately hit a bad end again. So I went and looked up the ending guide. I feel kind of embarrassed that I had to go and look up an ending guide because I didn't understand what was going on. Psych, you actually had to get all the toy articles anyway. The way the guy says it is so confusing. I got double subverted by my own misunderstanding of what the guy actually meant. I am so disappointed in myself for that. It feels such like a contrived ending. I'm like, oh, I had to pick one of them. No, I had to pick all of those? But so the only way to make sure that you do not get the bad ending at the very beginning of the game is to go through constantly looking at the top right corner of the screen, not appreciating any of the art or any of the characters, any of the voice acting that's going on, because you're so focused looking at the top right corner of the screen to get this one little beeping icon that you are completely distracted. Unfortunately, it is kind of hard to figure this out. I would have liked it a lot better if, like, the toy icon was in the middle of the screen, so whenever it did flash to say it had new information or new articles, like, it showed up, like, new toy article in the middle of the screen, so you could see it a lot more clearly while still enjoying the story, because it's impossible to enjoy the story while you've got your eyes constantly in the top right corner, looking for this little icon constantly flashing up. It's kind of, it's just, it takes away from the game having to constantly be looking at this, and you do have to actually be looking for this this icon showing up to get endings. So you can't sit around and just enjoy the story for what it is. It's so disappointing. Gets even worse post Chapter 5, where you go, like, I was checking constantly, but, like, every chapter, when I figured this out, I was saving every chapter and going back to the main menu to check that I had all of them. I even had a little bit of a counter on Notepad on my computer. And even if you go through, like, Chapter 6 and Chapter 7, examining every one, depending on what route you're on, you'll only get specific toy articles. So here I am thinking that I actually missed a couple thanks to the little completion thing, and it made me kind of angry. But anyway, as I was saying, you read all the articles and it takes away entirely from the game. It just makes you constantly stare at the top right corner. I'm not a fan of it at all. It would be much better if it was just a small icon that appeared in the middle of the screen, something that was easier to get your attention, because if you're actually watching the story and kind of enthralled by it, even though I really wasn't, if you're just actually focused on the story, you will probably miss a flash in the top right corner once or twice, and if you do, and you leave it for too long, you're screwed. You'll miss one toy article and you will miss the endings. You'll go straight to the bad end, no choice in the matter. This actually makes half the features in the game useless. Like, there's a quick save and a quick load, there's auto-saving, and there's even manual saving. But if you miss one toy article in a previous chapter and save in the next chapter, you are screwed. That save game is completely and utterly not worth your time. It's dumb, it's dumb, it's dumb, it's dumb, it's dumb. It makes your saves poisoned for the entire game, and you have to go right back to the beginning and do it all again. Quick saving. You would think that would be very good, wouldn't it? But again, you can only have one quick save at a time, and guess what? It actually gets removed when you have to. It actually gets removed when you finish the game. It's so silly. It's like, why can't I just have a quick load? I guess that's why they give you 40 manual saves. And then there's the skip. Turns out you can't use the skip, because if you use the skip, you will miss a toy article. Guaranteed. You cannot drop this game. You have to be focused on it all the time, which means going through it. Like, the ending guide tells you that you have to read articles with a specific face, which is completely impossible, because the ability to unlock who sees what article is locked until you finish the game one time. So a bunch of the endings are locked off to you right from the beginning. So you have to go all the way through the game, watching the top right corner, getting the toy articles, and making sure you get to the right ending. To be fair, it actually kind of justifies the toy in the game, but that would be a really, really big spoiler, so I'm not going to say anything more about it. But it's just so silly. Oh man, God, what was I even trying to say there? But yeah, it's just so dumb. And skip, you can't use skip, you just can't skip, you have to be constantly focused. So there's no point to skip, there's no point to auto-saving, there's no point to even manual saving, because half of your manual saves will probably be invalid by the point that you finish it off. So, that's not the worst thing about this though. Oh man, it gets so much worse. So, you finished the game the first time, right, and you're a little bit disenfranchised with the whole thing because it's like, oh, well, I just had to go through all that trouble just to see one ending, and now you have to do it a few more times. Oh boy, it gets worse. If you want to go for the Platinum Trophy, you have to get what is called every AOI. I can't remember the exact name of the, what everything means in that sentence. AOI is a shortened for something, but I can't remember what the name of it is. That's what I'm trying to say. So, for every AOI, for every chapter, there's like 3 or 4 AOIs. There is 110 AOIs. This wouldn't be too bad if it was something accessible like in-game, right? Wrong. You have to make a manual save every single chapter of every route and load it up again. I'm not kidding. You have to make a manual save on every chapter of every route, and then load it up and read the AOI for it to count. And there are 3 different AOIs for most of the chapters. So you have to make 110 manual saves. And you don't even know exactly where this is going to split off. So you have to make 110 manual saves, load them up, read the AOI, get to the end, and save the save data. Like, you can do this, like, on a route. If you know exactly where to save and load, you can just save and load constantly. But for those of us who aren't massive visual novel wizards, we're not gonna figure this out right off the bat. So, yeah, 110 manual saves with the massive opportunity to fuck up somewhere. It's fantastic. Fantastically bad. Thankfully, you don't have to do that to get any sort of golden ending. It's only for the Platinum Trophy. But it's such a waste of time. The game itself is actually quite short. I managed to get through it in like a couple of hours. So I imagine this is just what they did to lengthen the process of getting a Platinum Trophy. Oh, it's so stupid. Oh, wow. I'm getting a headache just thinking about it. It's so dumb. The gameplay, the story itself isn't that bad. It isn't great. The characters aren't that amazing. And most of the mystery is gone by the time you finish the first route. So there's not that much reason to continue playing unless you're a fan of the story, which you possibly could be. But then this gameplay crap comes in and just hits you over the head, and you can't go through until you go through constantly looking for every single toy article. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about that, really. The gameplay in this game is stupid as hell, and I hate it. Oh, man. It just, the focus on the TOI makes half the features in the game useless. It's like they didn't think about it. They didn't think about what effect one feature would have on another, so it kind of feels like they had to put the manual saving and the auto-saving and the quick saving there on purpose. It just feels stupid. It really does. I'm just gonna let the rest of this sequence going on in the background play out with a little bit of higher volume for you. This game, I do not recommend it unless you're a massive fan of BlazBlue or visual novels, or if you're willing to put up with all those massive gameplay problems. It's just whack. I'll see you all next time.
ああ、そいつが言ったんだ。お前が魔導書を持ってるって。それがあれば、俺を助けてやるって言うからよ。
なんだって。
魔導書。
クソが、あいつら。
あいつら。ちょっと、あいつらって他にどんな仲間が？
俺を騙しやがって。
白い髪の男といつ会ったの？今彼はどこにいるの？
クソークソー。
やめてクオン、様子がおかしいよ。
対象をフェーズ4と判定。
何？
なんだ。
トウヤ、警戒してください。
あの人が吹き飛ばされた。
十世ドライ。
10世。
フロイライン・シュトルハイム、ご機嫌麗しく。なぜこのような場所に？
それはこっちのセリフです。魔導協会より即刻帰還せよとの正式な命令が出ています。すぐにイシャナへ戻り罪を償ってください。
フロイライン、誠に残念ですがその要求にはお答えできません。
ならば力ずくでも。
冗談がお得意なようですね。あなた一人で何ができると？
私にはいざ酔いの使用許可が出ています。
封印放送ですか。それは恐ろしい。あなたに持たせるとは魔導協会も随分と酷な判断をしたものです。
一体何が起きてるんだ。あの人は10世。
10世とは魔術師の中でも最高の戦力を有するものです。
魔術師って、じゃあクオンと同じ？
はい。ですがあの10世とクオンの戦力では比較になりません。戦闘が発生すれば確実にクオンが敗北するでしょう。
なら何とかしなきゃ。
はい。クオンと10世の間に戦闘が起こった時が離脱のチャンスです。
そうじゃないよ。あの子が負けるって分かってて置いていけないでしょ。
10世との戦闘は避けるべきです。
ダメだ、クオンを止めなきゃ。
待ってください。
はじめまして。あなたがかがりトウヤかしら？私は10世のアハト。以後よろしくね。
トウヤ、危険です。下がって。
お人形さん？残念だけど今日はペットをしつけに来ただけなの。あなたたちと戦うつもりはないから安心してちょうだい。
何をしてるんですか。その人は弱ってるんですよ。
優しいのね。大丈夫よ、死にはしないわ。ほらね。
やめてくれ。
トウヤ、下がって。
でも
我々は相手を知りませんが相手はトウヤを知っています。これが何を意味するか分かりますか？
どういうこと？
トウヤが狙われているということです。
僕があの人たちに？どうして？
分かりません。とにかくこの場からの離脱を考えなくては。
遊びが過ぎますよ、アハト。
久しぶりに外に出たんだからこのくらいいいじゃない。
そろそろ時間です。
相変わらず硬いわね、まったく。
アハト。
あらお嬢様、お元気そうで何より。
ゼックスはどこにいるんですか？
相変わらずね。申し訳ないけどそろそろおいとまさせていただくわ。次に会う時はもう少しお話できたらいいわね。
待って。
飼い犬の不敬、何卒お許しください。また近いうちにお会いしましょう。
10世は去りました。とりあえずは安全です。